What if defying destiny meant defying the world itself? That's the provocative question at the heart of John M. Chu's 2025 film Wicked, for Good. This fantasy adventure musical stakes its claim as a bold, emotional finale to the story of Elphaba and Glinda, two iconic witches whose complicated friendship shapes the fate of Oz D.P. Chu, known for his kinetic direction in films like Crazy Rich Asians and In the Heights, takes on a beloved saga that blends spectacle with intimate drama. With a powerhouse cast including Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, Wicked, for Good promises a lush theatrical experience that challenges the boundaries of friendship, identity, and change, all set against a richly imagined fantasy world. Let's cut into how this film aims to reinvent and conclude a story that's as much about personal growth as it is about magical worlds. At its core, Wicked, for Good is a fantasy adventure musical that leans heavily into drama and romance. The premise revolves around an angry mob rising against Elphaba, the Wicked Witch, forcing her and Glinda to confront their fractured friendship. The film's tone balances emotional depth with the grandeur of Oz's fantastical setting, positioning it within a genre that thrives on both spectacle and character-driven storytelling. Released theatrically in 2025, it arrives in a landscape where fantasy musicals are rare, but have a dedicated audience hungry for fresh takes on classic tales. While it's not a direct sequel in the traditional sense, it clearly serves as a thematic continuation and culmination of the Wicked narrative, exploring how these two women's intertwined destinies could reshape their world for good. John M. Chu's direction here is a defining element. Known for his vibrant use of color and dynamic camera movement, Chu's visual style is primed to amplify the magical realism of Oz. His previous work shows a penchant for fluid tracking shots and tightly choreographed sequences, which likely translate into sweeping musical numbers and emotionally charged confrontations in Wicked. For Good, the color palette probably plays a symbolic role. Expect the classic green hues associated with Elphaba, contrasted against the bright ethereal tones linked to Glinda, creating visual tension that mirrors their relationship. Editing rhythm is crucial in musicals, and Chu's experience with integrating music and movement suggests the film maintains a brisk pace during songs, while allowing quieter, more introspective moments to breathe, heightening the emotional stakes. This balance between spectacle and intimacy is where Chu's direction can really elevate the material. Action and tension are presumably rendered with a blend of theatricality and cinematic realism, avoiding the trap of stage-bound stagnation. Instead, expect a choreography of camera and character movement that feels organic, emphasizing the characters' emotional journeys alongside the fantasy elements. The climactic sequences involving the angry mob and the witches' confrontation likely showcase Chu's skill at managing large-scale scenes without losing sight of personal stakes, making the drama feel urgent and grounded even amid magical chaos. Casting Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo as Glinda and Elphaba, respectively, is a masterstroke for a musical of this ambition. Grande's vocal prowess and charisma bring a contemporary edge to Glinda's character, potentially highlighting her complexity beyond the stereotypical good witch archetype. The witch archetype. Erivo, already acclaimed for her powerhouse singing and emotional depth, likely imbues Elphaba with a fierce vulnerability that anchors the film's emotional core. Supporting cast members like Jonathan Bailey and Jeff Goldblum add further gravitas, suggesting a layered ensemble that balances star power with nuanced performances. Michelle Yeoh and Ethan Slater's presence hints at a richly populated Oz where every character matters, and chemistry among this ensemble is expected to be a key strength, creating believable relationships that elevate the narrative. Early reactions to this casting and the film's scale have been generally positive, with particular praise aimed at the lead's vocal performances and Chu's direction. The musical numbers are anticipated to be show-stopping set pieces that blend Broadway-style spectacle with cinematic flair. The ensemble's diversity and talent promise a fresh take on familiar characters, likely expanding the emotional range and inclusivity of the story. Given the film's length, over 2 hours, there's room for each actor to develop their roles fully, which bodes well for a balanced narrative that neither rushes nor overstays its welcome. The writing, credited to Stephen Schwartz, Winnie Holzman, Gregory Maguire, Diana Fox, and Drums Law, signals a complex narrative structure, interweaving musical storytelling with fantasy adventure. The film appears to lean into themes of friendship, empathy, and transformation, exploring how personal honesty can ripple outward to affect societal change. The premise of two former allies needing to truly see each other suggests a focus on reconciliation and identity, probably layered with the political and social upheaval represented by the mob's uprising. Structurally, expect a blend of musical set pieces punctuating character-driven scenes, with the narrative arc building toward a resolution that redefines what it means to be good in a conflicted world. This thematic focus on empathy and self-reinvention is particularly compelling given the franchise's history, which has long challenged simplistic ideas of good and evil. The film likely uses its musical format to deepen emotional resonance, with songs acting as internal monologues and catalysts for change. The screenplay's multiple writers point to a collaborative effort to balance faithfulness to the source material with fresh perspectives. All told, Wicked for Good seems set to offer a layered story that rewards viewers willing to engage with its emotional and ideological complexity, rather than just its fantasy spectacle. Within the larger Wicked franchise, this film functions as a culmination, wrapping up threads from previous adaptations and stage productions, while expanding the universe for a cinematic audience. It stands apart from conventional fantasy musicals by emphasizing character relationships and moral ambiguity over simple heroics. Comparisons to other genre films, like Harry Potter or Maleficent, highlight its unique blend of musical drama and fantasy politics. Unlike spectacle-driven blockbusters, Wicked for Good seems to prioritize character development and thematic depth, positioning it as a more intimate, emotionally grounded entry in the fantasy genre. This approach challenges audience expectations, offering a story that's as much about internal transformation as external conflict. The film's position within the crowded fantasy landscape is strategic. It appeals to fans of musical theater, fantasy adventure, and emotionally complex drama. Its focus on spectacle is balanced with a clear commitment to character, which may attract viewers looking for a thoughtful, immersive experience, rather than just visual fireworks. The narrative's emphasis on friendship and empathy also distinguishes it, positioning Wicked for Good as a rare hybrid that blends the emotional intensity of a musical with the imaginative world-building of fantasy cinema. This hybrid nature is likely to set it apart from both traditional musicals and straight fantasy epics. So who is Wicked for Good for? Fans of the original Wicked stage, musical, and readers familiar with Gregory Maguire's Odd's mythology will find much to appreciate in this adaptation's faithfulness and expansion of themes. Viewers who enjoy fantasy with emotional heft and strong performances, especially musical fans, will likely be drawn in. However, those expecting a pure fantasy spectacle or a lightweight adventure might find the film's focus on emotional complexity and moral ambiguity less accessible. The film's strengths lie in its lead performances, Chu's dynamic direction, and a script that foregrounds empathy and growth. Potential weaknesses could stem from its ambitious length and the challenge of balancing multiple narrative threads without diluting impact. Overall, Wicked for Good emerges as a compelling cinematic finale that honors its source material while pushing the boundaries of fantasy musicals. It's a film for viewers who want more than just visual spectacle. They want a story that challenges their assumptions about friendship, identity, and change. With its rich performances and thoughtful direction, it's a worthy addition to the genre that rewards patience and emotional investment. Whether you stream it or see it on the big screen, this is a film that aims to linger in the mind long after the final note fades. In the end, Wicked for Good asks us to reconsider what it means to rewrite our destinies, not just as individuals, but as a society. It's a fitting question for a story about witches, friendship, and the power of empathy to reshape a world. If you're intrigued by that idea, this film deserves your attention. Thanks for watching Cut to Reel. For more deep dives into how films craft meaning and emotion, hit subscribe and keep cutting to the reel. Thanks for watching Cut to Reel. I'll see you next time for another look beneath the surface of cinema's best.